This morning, it seems that one of Queensland's richest people could be the lifesaver for casino operator The Star, which for weeks has teetered on the brink of insolvency. It's been a key topic here at Sky. We've been following the progress. It's been led by our business editor, Ross Greenwood, who joins me now. So, Ross, is this the potential saviour from an unlikely figure?
It's a really interesting story, this, because quite clearly The Star have got operations in Sydney, big operations which are basically administered by the New South Wales government, then the Gold Coast, and that giant $3.6 billion brand spanking new Queen's Wharf
it's beautiful
casino.
Too.
Right now, the story is, that's right, yeah. So the story is that basically the half owners of that casino, Hong Kong-based companies, basically would like to buy it out. And that would save The Star if they could get out of that Brisbane casino. But the question is, how are they going to get the time to get that deal done, to get all the compliance sorted? So as a result, this fellow, Chris Wallen, is going to turn up to basically offer $200 million as a short-term bridging loan. Now, you might sit there and go, well, who's this bloke? Well, this bloke is Queensland's second richest man, according to some reports. Said to be worth more than $3 billion. He's the bloke behind Q-Coal. Now, he somehow has turned up in this deal. Goodness knows what the terms are going to be like, because our understanding that there are other loans that The Star has got, emergency loans, where it's paying 16% interest on those loans. That's the word that we've heard from other loans. So the interesting thing about this is, in the meantime, there's somebody else who's sitting behind the scenes, and that's this man, and that is Australia's billionaire pubs baron. So that's Chris Wallen, but there's also, on top of that, another man sitting up behind there, and that is Bruce Matheson. Now, Bruce Matheson, basically, again, a multi-billionaire. He's the guy behind Australian liquor and hospitality. So if you think about all the big W liquor stores, Dan Murphy's, he's kind of behind a lot of that sort of stuff. So anyway, so he is now in a situation where he will buy, if it all goes through, the Gold Coast casino. So therefore, The Star would be left with its Sydney casino. But the issue here is, again, they're looking for some sort of a deal, and there's a company that's sitting in the background that could do a potential deal with them, but the New South Wales government doesn't want to deal with them because they want to try and get the land on which the Sydney casino sits almost for free. And so as a result, the New South Wales government has said, Barley Charlie, we're not playing that game, because that politically would not play out at all well, literally giving away the dirt on which the casino sits. So the question now is, can it survive or not? Because, as I say, this $200 million short-term bridging loan is one thing, but the question is, what happens after all of that?
OK, but given what's going on, and I think we've spoken about this before, are casinos even viable? I mean, is that a good business deal for these guys coming in?
Well, I'll tell you what's not a good deal. It's not a good deal to actually spend $3.6 billion building a casino.
Yeah.
Now having all of the compliance issues that they've had, and the anti-money laundering inquiries, royal commissions.
There's no one on the floor.
There's no one on the floor, right? And the reason why there's no one on the floor is because you've got to declare yourself, you've got to show your hand, and all that sort of stuff. There's cashless gambling.
Your details, or your address and everything like that.
All that. And so before you can even get in. So there's a fundamental problem for that, for starters. So then the second part about this is, well, even if you do survive and get through all of this, and that's what Steve McCann, the boss, is trying to get through now, it's a pretty questionable thing, because there's potentially another penalty coming from AUSTRAC, the anti-money laundering agency, for all of those past sins that have been identified, which could be as much as $400 million.
Oh.
So the question is, who's going to stump up that cash? That's the other part about this.
All right, let's go to this other story I was just talking about, Ross. Get your thoughts on this. So overnight markets have fallen. This time it's after Donald Trump. He deferred those tariffs. I mean, they were in play again, not just for Canada to the north, but Mexico to the south, and now they get a pause for another 30 days.
For another 30 days. So just a little bit of perspective here. So before all of this took place, there used to be a thing called the North American Free Trade Agreement, which then was updated to a new agreement, effectively free trade between Mexico, Canada and the United States. So that basically has now been put aside with these new tariffs. So he's putting some sort of, as I say, delays on these. But the issues about which products are really interesting to have a look at, because some of these are causing inflation in America. The big one is cars. Automobiles, the big one. The other one is going to be pharmaceuticals. They are politically also very sensitive. So you sort of wonder a little bit about the increase in prices of a lot of these types of goods as to whether you're starting to see a bit of political backlash from the price of those goods increasing in America if all of a sudden these tariffs get jammed on top of these. So if we have a quick look at the markets from overnight, what you can see is, have a look at this. There's the Dow Jones down 1%, S&P down 1 3/4, NASDAQ down 2.6%. The Aussie market's expected to open down around about 1%. You can see it there, the share price index. So it does have a genuine impact on the way in which these markets are behaving right now.
Hey, just to back, because I'm about to go to the Queensland Premier
Yes.
on the Storm, but you said, so Gold Coast Star might be okay, might be. Sydney, maybe.
Maybe.
Brisbane. Fancy new big casino.
Well, it'd be interesting to see whether the Premier will allow the Hong Kong part owners of the Star's Queensland Queen's Wharf operation to be able to buy out the other half from the Star if they're able to get a deal across the line. There you go.